one red, pour out the Jameson for ancestors to swig.
You rescue me yet again. You put me first everywhere. You make me feel better than the mother do. You rescue me yet again. You put me first everywhere. You make me feel better than the mother do.
Thank you for tuning to the Black Fathers Initiative of Cleveland YouTube page. We really appreciate the love. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell. All the thumbs up are really appreciated, as well as the comments. I love the comments. I love commenting back, so keep dropping those comments, and I'm going to keep hitting y'all, with another comment, with a reply. If I need to reply, because some of your comments be cool, but some of y'all comments be like, I need to reply. So, appreciate all the love, appreciate all the comments. So, like I said, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, okay? If you don't know her work, she is the author of the ISIS Papers, The Keys to Colors, to the Colors. Basically, she was pretty much an activist, even though she was also a psychiatrist. But her whole thing was promoting, black empowerment, of course, and really breaking down what the reason why we're in the position that we're in. Not just because we're black, but some of the systematic and racial things that they've done to us to keep us, pretty much in our place. So, check it out. About to get to it. Let's go.
I am really honored to be here and to have been invited by Shahrazard Wilson and Clemson Brown. I haven't been in New York in a long time, but I'm thrilled to be here. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
And many more. I'm going to, as usual, talk about racism, white supremacy. My mother is deceased, but one time she said to me, "What are you going to talk about, Frances?" And I said, "Mother, I only talk about racism." And she said, "Well, can't you talk about something different?" But everything is racism, and I want to talk about it. I'm a general psychiatrist and child psychiatrist practicing in Washington, D.C. And I have arrived at the point where I feel that the most important thing that we as black people need to understand is this powerful dynamic of racism. Those of you who are familiar with the work of Neely Fuller know that he has said, if you do not understand white supremacy racism, what it is and exactly how it works, everything else that you think you understand will only confuse you. So I believe that if we are going to move further into the 21st century and into the 22nd century and into the 23rd century, that we have to have clear insight as to what this process is all about. I think it's in the book of Isaiah. If you do not have, those who do not have a vision, if there's no vision, the people will perish. I guess that's, if there is no vision, the people will perish. Meaning we have to have a more global understanding of exactly what the forces are on this planet, so we can actually do short-range planning as well as long-range planning. I started thinking about racism when I was doing a residency in general psychiatry at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. And it was a program that was based on Freudian psychoanalytic theory, and nothing was really being said about the mental health of black people. I'm a third generation physician. My father was a physician. His father was a physician. And my parents told us that you are getting an education not to leave your community. You are getting an education in order to help your community.
Facts.
So the black patients
Everybody should be telling their black
that I would
kids
talk
that.
to and take a history
sure.
on, within the history of every black patient would be aspects and dimensions of racism.
Now this is interesting.
And when I was an undergrad, I considered myself to be a Marxist. I thought that economics was causing racism, that it was a means for economic exploitation. Well, you can have ideas as an undergrad, but when you are a physician and responsible for the care of patients, you really have to know what you're talking about. I remember going
still messing
home
with me. Too bad.
when I was an undergrad. You know, my parents and my grandmother were sitting at the dining room table, and I announced, I'm a Marxist. And my grandmother said, the more education they get, the dumber they get. But anyway, talking to patients and seeing this gigantic monster in the middle of their history about racism, I said, I've got to really understand racism in depth. And the training program that I was in, it was at a federal government hospital. All the people in charge of the training program were white people. And they actually taught us, there were a few black residents, I think 3 out of 12, that black people did not have the intellectual potential to benefit from psychotherapy. That the best treatment for black people was medication. Well, that did not compute for me. So I said to myself, I want to understand
See how they do us?
really
No
more
psychotherapy
about
for black
racism.
people. What?
I happened to have been at a social gathering, and these were black people sitting around after a Black Power Committee meeting. And I heard a gentleman across the room say, racism is a system. It was almost like a light bulb going on. That was Neely Fuller. How many of you are familiar with his work? I consider him to be one of the critical thinkers in our group in the 20th century and into the 21st century. He was saying that racism is a system, and because we got to get this really in our heads. He said it was a system, and the system functions in all areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And that the purpose of this system is to maintain the power equation of white over non-white, white power over non-white powerlessness. And so I thought this was a very profound concept. Those of you who are familiar with the work of Dr. Du Bois. Dr. Du Bois in 1903 said that the problem of the 20th century is the question of the color line. This is the problem of the color line. So I said to myself, why would a system for the purpose of maintaining white power over non-white powerlessness, why would such a system evolve on this particular planet, planet Earth? And then I thought about some of the things that are said within the system. One of the critical things is that we are taught that white is a majority. Is that right?
Yeah.
And we are told that non-white is genetic inferior. And then I just thought about the things that, you learn going to school for a long time and going to medical school. I said, wait a minute, white is a tiny minority. Fewer than 1/10 of the people on the planet have white skin. And instead of black people being genetically inferior,
Might be less than that now.
the ability to produce this black pigment, melanin, is a genetically dominant trait. And we have an excellent example in our president, Barack Obama. His mother is white, was white, his father was black. And you mix these together and what do you get? A colored person.
Hey, listen. Look, they said,
Always a
wait a
black
minute.
person.
Never
So I
mind.
said that, okay, on this
I think I lost
planet,
it. Hold on.
planet Earth, in the 15th.
You know what they said about Obama? I'm trying to think. They said something else about him. Let me go back to what she was just talking about. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to make a point about something.
century,
Go back a couple minutes.
we had Columbus in. And instead of black people being genetically inferior, the ability to produce this black pigment, melanin, is a genetically dominant trait. And we have an excellent example in our president, Barack Obama. His mother is white, was white, his father was black. And you mix these together and what do you get? A colored person.
I forgot, y'all.
See,
I'm sorry.
always a black person.
I won't rewind it no more.
So I
I won't rewind it no more.
okay, on this planet, planet Earth, in the 15th century, we had Columbus, 1492, coming out of Europe and realizing that the Earth was round and not flat. And everywhere these white people landed, they found colored people, right? And if those men were sexually frustrated and the people were over time and the women had sex, or I should say the men had sex, imposed sex, however you want to look at it. If they waited around 9 months, they found that all of the children looked like the mothers. And so they realized, wait a minute, we are a tiny minority in Europe and no other place where there are white people. So they said, wait a minute, what if these men got in boats and started going from south to north? We could genetically disappear. Now this may not make sense to black people because under white supremacy, black people try to get rid of their color, don't we?
Unfortunately.
White people don't want to disappear. And I have asked audiences of white people, do you want your children to be colored?
No.
Do you want your grandchildren to be colored?
No.
Do you want your great-grandchildren to be colored?
No.
Do you want your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren to be colored?
No, 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 no,
I'm
no.
polite and they're polite. What do they say? No. Meaning they don't want to disappear. So I said, if you mean this, then you have to do certain